Tell me about Jack Quinlan and Lou.
Well, Lou obviously was my father-in-law forever. And as far as Quinlan goes, I mean, I don't think I ever met Jack Quinlan. But I can tell you that, as I recall, because we were all Cub fans, believe it or not, living on the south side around the stockyards. And we used to listen to the Cub games all the time. I mean, and Jack was the guy, you know. I mean, the irony of this is the fact that Lou, my father-in-law, was supposed to be in that car that day. And Lou got a little bit late getting out of the shower. So Jack had decided to leave and left a message that he needed him at the dinner place after the golf tournament, which Jack was trying to do when he got killed. So they had a tremendous relationship, just absolutely tremendous.
Do you think Jack Quinlan deserves to be in Cooperstown in the Baseball Broadcasters Hall of Fame?
You know, I guess that my number one question is, how many years did he broadcast in Major League Baseball?
10.
10 certainly qualifies him for the Hall of Fame. Anybody that ever heard Jack, and again, we're so far removed from those generations that he broadcast in that people don't know who he is. But if somebody could put a group together out there with a little bit of money and do a little bit of a campaign, just like they did for Ron Santo. I mean, his family, they went out of their way to get him into the Hall of Fame. I mean, let's be honest. And I loved Ron. I just loved Ron, loved playing against him, loved being with him. Ron was a great guy. But they did a campaign for several years to get him in the Hall of Fame. And, of course, they did the real nasty thing. They let him die first before they let him in. I mean, that was just a horrible, horrible, horrible thing for them to do. So, but you know what? At this point in time, Jack's been gone a long time. Somehow somebody put some dough up, go promote him, go back to the schools that he attended. I'm sure there's people around that would help.
McClain trying to get this last out. He's got it. That's it. And we're going to the 7th game tomorrow.
Baseball has undergone unbelievable changes since you pitched. You like, don't like, what do you agree with, what don't you agree with?
The game is becoming nickel-dime. I don't quite understand. I like this commissioner a lot in the beginning. But all of a sudden he's got a man on second base. All of a sudden you can't do a shift. You got to remember, folks, Lou Boudreau's the one that instituted the shift. He's the one that put the shift in because of Ted Williams. People forget that. People forget the history. There's a history with our game that no other game has. Nobody's been around long enough. Nobody's played long enough. Nobody's had the stars that we've had all over these years. And I don't think they give that enough consideration. Now you bring in a commissioner who more or less is an entertainment guy, and he's trying to figure out ways to make the game quicker. Listen, as long as you bring in 4 relief pitchers every night for both teams, you're going to play 3.5 hours. He can say what he wants. He can try to move a pitcher up to 20 seconds. It doesn't work. It's never worked. It's never going to work. Because as soon as you have that 10-7 game, you got a 5-hour game. I mean, but the silliness of it, not to continue to do good things is not totally wrong, but don't mess with the game. You know, you want to increase the attendance? Okay. You want every player to have a cell phone on while they play during the day or a microphone on? Okay, I don't have any trouble with any of that. But the bottom line is leave the game alone, for Christ's sake. I mean, come on, Commissioner. It's time that somebody in the front office grows up and becomes an adult.
What do you think about the fact that so many of these sluggers are striking out so prolifically?
That's easy. Good pitching. Good pitching gets bad hitting out. Always has been, always will be.
High fly ball, deep left. He's done it! He has done it! 62!
You got Aaron Judge striking out 4 times in a game, and
So, I mean, listen, he's not a 250 hitter. He's not a 280 hitter. He's a home run hitter. Home run hitters strike out quite a bit. Listen, the game needs Aaron Judge. The game stepped forward when Aaron Judge became a star. Whether he strikes out 150 or 300 times a year, he's still going to hit a lot of home runs. So just let Aaron and guys like him be what they are. Somehow, some way, they got to go back to the original game. When the game was 16 inches from the mound, 16 inches tall, where the pitcher let the ball go from, we had a balance between the hitters and the pitchers. We had a great balance between the two. We lost the balance when all of a sudden Bowie Kuhn, who didn't know his ass from a hole in the ground, wanted to reduce the mound. And why he did it, nobody knows. They wanted more home runs. Well, they accomplished the home runs, but they forgot about the other part of the game.
Where would Denny McClain be in the pantheon of pitchers today if your career had started in 2021 or 22? Where would you be?
Denny would have a lot more money. Denny would be very pleased. Listen, if they wanted to pay me $20 million a year to win 15 games, I'm ready. Because the whole thing, you can only make as much money as you can time, and then the number of times you can get out there. So Denny would be very happy with that because we played. People said, "Well, we made a lot of money." I guess if you look at 65 or 75,000 a year, that was okay, and I mean only okay, because folks, we had to travel to L.A. and New York and Boston. More than half of our expenses we had to pick up. Not the club. They paid for the flights. They gave us some meal money. But everything else was on us. So we were at a disadvantage from the day you signed your contract. And thank God for Marvin Miller. That's all I can tell you.
If you were a commissioner of baseball for a day, what would your first edicts be?
I don't know. I don't know what I would be allowed to do. I mean, I have no idea. The only thing that's on my mind all the time is the mound. Put the mound back where it was. You'll put balance back in the game, and you will have the same ratio that we had in the 60s as they're trying to get to in this generation. They can't get to this unless they do something with the mound, and apparently they don't want to do it. Listen, it seems like, and I counted 2 or 3 games in a row about a month ago, and I forget, one of the games was one of the Cub games. 70% of the pitchers missed the catcher. 70%. The next night it was almost 80. Bottom line, it doesn't work. Let the pitchers go back to where they belong.
Playoffs. Aren't these playoffs exciting?
Best baseball I've seen in a long time.
It goes. It is gone.
Very good move by MLB to add this.
Yeah, I've always promoted the playoffs. They've been great. It's just great baseball. They're making all the catches, hitting all the cutoff men, hitting the ball the right way. It's really fun to watch.
Why do you think it is?
Well, I think when it becomes grunt time, squeeze time, choke time, I think the players become better players. The ones who can play become better players. Go back to your roots.